Okay, you're good. Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Beatrice Rice. I am the Assistant Director of Student Engagement at the Fordham Career Center. Today, we are conducting our presentation on resumes and cover letters. It is the second part to our Streamlining Your Career series. I hope everyone's having a great day, so tune in. We've got some exciting topics to talk about. So as I mentioned, we will be discussing our resumes and cover letter workshop today. We will go into these specific two areas. If you have any questions, please include it in the chat. So before we get into that, we are going to talk about who we are as the Fordham Career Center. We serve as the bridge between your classroom experience and the world beyond. We do career counseling, and we assist you with your career exploration, and we support you. We also assist you with resume, cover letter, CV, and personal statements. We also guide you and prepare you for interview prep, as well as networking and LinkedIn. You can check out our event calendar online, as well as Handshake. That is where you'll find all of our career fairs, all of our info sessions posted. You'll also get a bird's eye view of who's coming on campus, who's hosting employer panels, and where our networking events, as well as workshops, are going to be taking place on campus, whether it is in person, virtual, or hybrid. So here's the first topic. We're going to get right into resumes. So what's the purpose of crafting a resume? So before we get into the details, I want to let you know that your resume is who you are. It is what you're going to be marketing, and it's the first thing that employers are and recruiters are going to see before they actually meet you in person for the interview. Consider what recruiters are looking for. You want to make sure that most of all, you're including very relevant experience as well as skills. You want to make sure that it's a professional resume and doesn't have anything that is not in alignment with the job opportunity or internship opportunity or volunteer opportunity that you want to apply to. Every job description has keywords, so you want to make sure that your resume puts an emphasis on those specific keywords. You want to make sure that the keywords on the job description or internship opportunity matches the keywords that are on your resume. You want to make sure that it is significantly highlighting who you are as a whole candidate, and that falls under our Cura Personalis. You want to make sure that you're also highlighting all your interests and passions. So the structure of a resume really should be one page. You want to make sure that it's 0.inch margins, and it's nothing bigger than a size 10 font. You want to make sure that your bullet points are very precise, very straightforward, and straight to the point. You don't want a lengthy paragraph. You don't want to have an essay on your resume about all of your experience entirely. You just want to give the recruiter a snapshot of things that you've done, and you want to give them insight on some of the duties and tasks that you were responsible for. You want to be very clear, very concise, very specific, and you want to use very defined sections. Having an objective and or a summary on your resume is not necessary. Your resume is just a snapshot of everything that you've done, as long as it's relevant with your experience for the internship or job opportunity that you want to apply to. So the themes of your resume. What resume style is common in your field? You want to focus on action verbs as well, and make sure that the experience you're putting on your resume is relevant to the job or internship opportunity. You want to make sure that your bullet points actually is in alignment with things that you have done. You also want to include metrics and successes. So for example, when you're formatting your resume, you want to make sure that when you're starting with your bullet point, that you're starting it off with an action verb. What does that look like? For example, you're not going to use statements such as, I was responsible for, I did X, Y, and Z, I went to X, Y, and Z. What you want to focus on are action verbs. So that should look like described, coordinated, collaborated, responsible for. You're just going to state the action, what it is that you actually did. The goal of your resume is for you to get the interview. You need to get your foot in that door. You need to grab that recruiter's attention and make sure that they want to continue reading your resume. In actuality, if your resume is not formatted in such a way where it's very precise and straightforward and you have all of these lengthy bullet points, the recruiter is most likely not going to read it all in detail. They just want a snapshot. They want to read through it very quickly and see if you're qualified. They want to make sure that your action verbs are strong enough and matches the description, because what they're looking for in the description should be reflective on your resume. Everything on your resume should have a purpose. Your experiences could include jobs, internships, extracurriculars, volunteering, as well as class projects, personal projects, and more. The good thing about a resume is that there's no golden rule, but you should be able to edit some of the titles and include information that is relevant, as long as you're not highlighting things that are not relevant to the job opportunity at hand. So for example, if you have a lot of experience in volunteer work, you have a lot of experience in the classroom academically, you can feel free to add that information. You shouldn't restrain yourself from including that information on your resume. It's all relevant because of the skills that it took for you to do the task. So keep that in mind. Here's a template of our functional resume and what it typically looks like. You have your name at the top, followed by your education, followed by relevant coursework, awards and honors, relevant experience, as well as additional experience. Then lastly, you have skills and languages. We're going to go through a few templates just so that you can get a better idea of what different resume templates look like according to different industries and purpose. So take a moment, take a quick look. We have all of these resources on our page that you should have access to. Here is a Gabelli resume template, which is a little bit more structured. You have the lines under education and experience, as well as leadership and extracurricular, a little bit differently from our functional resume, but still very similar. Education is at the top, followed by experience, followed by leadership and extracurricular, followed by skills, certifications, and interests. Now with the interest section, you really want to keep this 1 to 2 lines and be very specific. Don't go overboard. Here's a look at our technical resume. So a little bit more in depth, a lot of information. Please take a moment and look at this format. Aside from the resumes that I previously showed you, this is a creative resume. So here you're going to see a little bit more creativity, a little bit of color. Things are formatted a little bit differently, but still very similar. Some of the content is highlighted in green. Education, relevant experience, independent experiences, skills, languages, and interests highlighted at the bottom. Very similar, but quite different in terms of format. So if you are an individual who's looking to get into more of a creative industry or field, this is something that you can definitely use as a template and edit your experiences accordingly. All in all, the first section of your resume really should include your name, location, email, phone number, LinkedIn, as well as any other professional profiles. When a recruiter is looking at your resume, these are the first few questions that pops in their head. They want to know, who is this individual? So your name should always be at the top, and it should be a little bit larger than some of the other content on the document, because it's who you are. It's your brand. It's your name. They want to know who you are. So you want to make sure that your name is visible and readable, and you want to make sure that you're highlighting it at the top of your resume. Followed by your education. You can include your GPA, as well as your grad year and relevant coursework. The next section of your resume goes into relevant experience. You want to be very specific, and you want to highlight the most important aspects in these areas. So you really should be focusing on the important details. Where did you work? So you want to include that name of organization. You want to be very straightforward, very clear and specific about what you did. You don't need to have a paragraph in detail emphasizing on what you did and things of that sort. You want to break those up into more seamless bullet points and identify your actions. You want to use very strong action verbs, and my biggest and best tip for you is to focus on the action verbs that is highlighted in the job description and or internship description. Identify, write, pitch, strengthen. These are very strong action verbs that you want to pay attention to. You want to pay attention to these keywords as well. These bullet points are very straightforward. They're one-line bullet points, and depending on how much experience you have, and depending on how much content you want to highlight on your resume, you would want to keep your bullet points to one line just for the sake of space. Your dates are located to the far right of the document. You always want to put the start month and start year, and you want to emphasize the end month or end year. If you're not currently still doing it. Otherwise, you just put present. The third part of your resume focuses on additional experiences. This is where you showcase other skills. You're going to focus on the elements that will interest the employer. You want to be very strategic in what you use here. Every experience should have a purpose and should add value of some sort. Now I'm going to pause here for a moment because I do want to emphasize that a lot of times you may wonder the random or odd jobs that you may have, that is not really relevant, or you may deem it not to be relevant, but always try to focus on what you did, because that's what's going to make you a great candidate. Highlighting transferable skills. Highlighting other areas that you're skilled in. Never be ashamed of your experience. Never be ashamed of where you've worked. Always be proud and highlight your skills. Showcase to the employer or the recruiter what you're capable of. And that's why having strong bullet points with content, being straightforward and concise is really going to get your foot in the door. List technical or hard skills in the skills and interests section. So a lot of recruiters and employers, they want to know what type of platforms or programs you know how to navigate and function. How proficient are you in these areas? So your skills that are highlighted on your resume really should be indicative of that. You really want to focus on the platforms you know how to utilize and function. Examples are Adobe, Photoshop, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, knowing how to function computers operating systems such as Mac and Windows. If you speak any languages, that's really great to highlight on your resume as well. It shows the versatility in your language. So this individual highlighted that they are fluent in Spanish, they're conversational in French, and they have basic Mandarin skills in their languages. Interest is also a great way to highlight who you are. Aside from the work in academia, it tells the recruiter who you are as an individual, the whole person. This is where you get the opportunity to tell the recruiter a little bit about yourself, a little bit more in detail about what you like to do outside of your academics or outside from work. Who you are as an individual. Are you into crime novels? Are you into photography? Do you like skiing? Do you like contemporary art? These are all great things to highlight in your interest section. I want you to also know that interest section is very optional. You don't have to include it in your resume if you do not feel comfortable, but it's also a great way to connect with the recruiter and the organization at hand. Here's some additional advice about resumes. When your past positions aren't the perfect fit, focus on transferable skills. So as I mentioned before, never be ashamed about where you worked. Never be ashamed if the job you worked is not as relevant to the organization that you're applying to. Keep in mind, all that matters are the skills that are transferable. What did you do in your past roles that you know are relevant and can be used and be functional in the role that you're applying to? It's very common to have multiple resumes. So what I like to do is I always recommend to have a general resume where you have all of your content, all of your experiences, and then you craft different resumes according to your job interests or your career goals. Employers may spend less than a minute looking over your resume. So that is why I made such a key focus on making sure that your bullet points are very straightforward, very concise, and very straight to the point. Ultimately, you want to make sure that you don't have lengthy bullet points going in great detail about all of your experience at once, everything that you've done all at one time. You don't need a 3-sentence paragraph or anything of that sort. One line is perfectly fine. Making sure that your action verbs are very strong and is in alignment with what is highlighted in the job description will work perfectly. You want to use LinkedIn to feature anything that you couldn't fit on your resume as well. So LinkedIn is a really great platform if you wanted to highlight some additional tasks and duties. You can put that in your experience section on that platform. Have your resume reviewed by a career counselor at the Career Center. You can do so by logging into Handshake, accessing the Career Center tab, and scheduling appointment there. Any one of the counselors will be happy to help you and give you some guidance on how to prep and organize your resume. So we're going into another fun area, which is cover letters. And this is such a great topic because, this is something that is highly requested by many different employers, and it really has a great purpose to it. Cover letters really is an opportunity for you to put more of an emphasis on why you want to work for the company. Cover letters and resumes come as a set. Your resume really is a document that shows how qualified you are. And I like to say a cover letter is a good opportunity for you to emphasize your skills a little bit more in detail and highlight your culture fit and retention. Why you versus why them? The cover letter and crafting a cover letter really gives you the opportunity to showcase to the recruiter why they should select you. And you have the opportunity to tell them why you selected them. You want to tell the recruiter your story. You don't want to sound robotic. You don't want to sound, very generated or anything of that sort. You want to be very authentic, and you want to make sure that you're really trying to connect with the recruiter. And your cover letter really should put more of an emphasis on that, enforcing that connection. Why are you drawn to this company? Why did you apply to this internship opportunity? Why does this internship or job opportunity connect with you? Why do you want it so bad? This is your chance to talk about that and explain to the recruiter what this opportunity means to you, what you can bring to the company, what you can bring to the role, and how you can contribute in any of those areas. So every document has its structure. We went over the structure for the resume. Cover letter has a structure as well. Really should be single-spaced document. Usually no more than 3 paragraphs on average, and you want to make sure that it's cohesive and matches the style of your resume. You want to be professional, and yes, you do want to be authentic, but it should be very professional yet personal. You want to use transitional words and be mindful of overall flow. Try to avoid I statements. So the themes of a cover letter, you want to make sure that you're developing a strong opening hook. This is what the recruiter is going to be reading. They have not met you in person yet. Typically, they often haven't even interviewed you yet. And this is the document that really is going to grab their attention. So you want to make sure that you have a very strong opening hook and grabbing their attention right from the start. This is the document that is really going to help you get into the door and really tell the recruiter who you are as an individual. You want to highlight your relevant skills a little bit more in detail. So your resume, going back for a minute, really tells the recruiter what skills you possess, right? It tells the recruiter what you've done, what you were responsible for, all the good stuff, right? But the cover letter really is the proof to that pudding. You want to prove to them that you possess these skills because of you've done X, Y, and Z, or you're responsible for X, Y, and Z. You want to tell the recruiter, here's what I did to possess these skills, a little bit more in detail and a little bit more in context. So anyone can say that they have great communication skills. Anyone can say that they possess public speaking skills, collaboration skills and things of that sort. But where is the proof? Here is your opportunity to back those skills up and give a little bit more in context and in detail about what that all means and what you can actually bring to the table based off of those relevant skills. You want to make sure that you're doing your research. Know the industry. Know the job that you're applying to. I wouldn't recommend that you have a general cover letter and using that cover letter over and over again for every job. Your cover letter should be refined and tailored to each job and internship opportunity that you're applying to. You want to be very, very specific and customize it. You don't want to have a general general cover letter that you're using for 6 to 7, 8 jobs, or even 2 jobs. You want to make sure that for every opportunity, you're crafting your cover letter and refining it according to that specific opportunity. Know the industry. Do research. Most companies have an about section on their website. There's a lot of things on the internet about companies that you can go to their webpage. You can see what they're doing. You can see what their mission, their vision, and values are, and see and try to make that connection as well. Knowledge is key, and that's what's going to help you get your foot in the door, because when you are presenting to the recruiter and a recruiter is reading your cover letter as well as your resume, and they see that this individual is connected to us, they know who we are, they have a passion, they're connected with us and they want to work with us for these specific reasons that you're highlighting in your cover letter, you have a greater chance of getting your foot in that door as opposed to others. What is distinctive about the company? So going back to the mission, their brand loyalty, you want to make sure that you're educating yourself on these particular areas. Like I said before, you want to make sure that every job opportunity and or internship opportunity that you're applying to, that you're customizing this cover letter for that. A recruiter has read probably thousands of cover letters. They know when someone is genuine. They can read it in your language. You don't have to be in person for someone to read a document and know that it's not authentic. You can read it and feel that as a recruiter. So be mindful of that when you're crafting your cover letter. Here's an example of a cover letter template. Like I said before, your name is your brand. It is who you are. It is the first thing that the recruiter thinks about, and it's the first thing that comes to mind when they're reading over your resume and cover letter. Who is this person? Who is this individual? You can also, if you look to the left side of the document, you'll see an area where it says current date, recruiter name, professional title, organization name, and mailing address. Oftentimes, you may not have access to this information, so don't feel confined in trying to make sure that you have all of these areas filled in. Current date is actually mandatory. You should have this on your document to show the recruiter that it's up and current. However, having the recruiter's name, you may not have that information. You can put Dear Hiring Manager. That is completely fine. You can drop the professional title if you don't have that information. Having the organization name is totally fine. If you're not sure about the address, you can drop that. But if you do have all of these information, putting that on the cover letter is great. So the first paragraph, take a moment to read through it. You should really focus on stating your interest in obtaining the job and internship position at the company. If you are referred, include the name of the individual that referred you. Include a sentence about your background, but do not repeat your resume. Do not go verbatim, word for word, everything that is on your resume included on your cover letter. Like I said before, your resume is really a snapshot of things that you have done. It's a document that recruiters breeze over. That is why it should be very straightforward and concise and very straight to the point. But your cover letter is where you're going to put a little bit more emphasis and a little bit more context on those skills and duties that you have done. I recommend that you go on the job description and or internship description and identify 2 to 3 skills in that description that you know you possess, that qualifies you as an excellent fit. Paragraph 2 is where you're going to show how you're a perfect candidate for this role. So those 2 to 3 skills that you listed in the first paragraph, this is where you are going to go a little bit more in detail about those skills in context. So if you listed that you have presentation skills, research skills, or any skill for that matter, paragraph 2 is where you're going to go a little bit more in detail and devote 1 to 2 sentences per skill. Paragraph 3, this is the fun part, and I think a lot of people make mistakes. I have made mistakes in my past when I was writing cover letters as well. We go on and on about all the skills we possess, what we bring to the table, why we want to work for the company, but we forget about, highlighting something unique and positive about the organization. So really, you're talking about your skills, right, for the first 2 paragraphs and what you can bring to the table, to the company, right? But the recruiter still doesn't know why you want to work for them. They don't know how connected you are to the company and why you selected them, So you want to keep that in mind. You can have all the skills in the world. They could be the greatest skills. But as a recruiter and as an employer, you are of greater value when you show how much you value this company and how you're connected to this company. And that is what's going to tell the recruiter why you want to work for the company. This is where you want to highlight something unique and positive about the organization. And you're going to do so by doing your research. You're going to seek out brand-specific information from its website. You want to look into their mission, their vision, and this is what's going to give you that ammo to showcase to the recruiter what they mean to you and why you selected them to work for. So keep that in mind when you're crafting your cover letter. So logistical elements for your cover letter, you really should copy the header from your resume. It's like I said, they come together as a pair, and the formatting areas are very similar. Your name should be at the top because it is who you are. It is your brand. You want to make sure that it's the biggest content on the document. That's what they're going to look at when they first pick it up. Anita Smith. You want to include the date that you're sending the application up to date. You want to make sure that the date is up to date. Find the name and location of the employer if possible, and include that information if you have it on hand. And be very mindful of how you address individuals. So the first part of your cover letter, you're going to introduce yourself. What is your hook? What drew you to this role and field? What uniquely qualifies you as a good candidate? And what do you want them to know most about you? It may sound a lot, but if you're very strategic and you really craft some of the verbiage, you can accomplish every area and make it into one paragraph. So here's an example of someone doing just that. I'm writing to express my interest in the marketing internship at New York Magazine. This position was brought to my attention by my classmate. So this individual followed, the introduction, and also told the recruiter how they were drawn to this specific role. My classmate Jane Doe, a current intern with the New York Magazine. As this position requires multi-platform marketing experience, social media management, and event recap compilation, I am confident that I would be an excellent fit. So this individual made sure to look at the job description and select 2 to 3 skills that were relevant, that they know that they possess, that they could go a little bit more in context in the second part of the cover letter. So let's move forward. And I'm going to show you how it's all tied in together. So the second part of your cover letter, you want to connect that experience. So focus on the word connect. You have to connect it. Whatever skills you highlighted in the first paragraph really should go a little bit more in detail. You should break it down for the recruiter in the second part of your cover letter, your second paragraph, of your cover letter. You really should be telling the recruiter, here's the skills I possess, and here's what I've done. And that proves to you that I possess these skills. So let's get into it. You want to highlight transferable skills, which the individual already did. You saw that in the first paragraph. And then you want to feature similar language as the job description. You want to tell the story of 2 to 3 of your experiences, and don't repeat what's on your resume. So because you possess these skills, right, you're not going to use the same bullet points that are on your resume in this paragraph. Like I said, you really should break it down a little bit more in context. Your resume is a breeze through. It's just a snapshot. Your cover letter should have a little bit more context and explanation. So let's get to it. As the social media intern at AOL Games, I have been involved with multi-platform marketing from concept development to creative execution. During the early stages of rebranding, I pitched ideas for the website redesign based on blog and fan forum feedback. As a member of Fashion for Philanthropy, I oversee and contribute to all of its new social media initiatives. So these are some of the skills that this person highlighted in the first paragraph. This person gave that explanation where they worked at and some of the things that they were involved in to prove to the recruiter that they possess these skills. So keep that in mind when you're crafting your cover letter. Including FFP, Facebook, and Twitter account. There are the examples that this person knows how to function some of the social media platforms, which is, imperative for you to know when you're trying to get into this industry and going to be functioning with these platforms at whichever employer that you're applying to. You have to show proof. You have to give that explanation. Finally, as a public relations volunteer for the 2010 Tribeca Film Festival, I compiled recaps, reviews, and press coverage for several large-scale events coordinated with featured film directors. This was an excellent paragraph that showcased to you how you should break down your skills in context and in detail to the recruiter to prove that you have these skills. This is my favorite part of the cover letter. You want to hype them up. You told them all your skills. You told them what you can bring to the table. You showcase, all of your experience, where you worked at, how you learned about the opportunity. You did all of that. Excuse me. This is the best opportunity excuse me, to show them why you are interested in the organization. You have to understand that there are a lot of companies within a specific industry. So what does that mean? Let's say you were trying to be a bank teller and you wanted to apply to a bank. How, off the top of your head, just think about it for a moment. How many banks are there in the industry? Hundreds of banks, hundreds. There are so many banks, but every bank has a different mission. They have different values. They operate differently. They function differently as an organization, right? So think about every other industry, the tech industry, the health industry. Every industry has many companies within that industry that function differently, but work under the same industry. Now, why do you want to work for this specific company as opposed to anybody else or any other organization within the same industry? What makes them so special? Think about it for a moment. And whenever you're creating your cover letter, you want to think about that. You want to make sure that you're connecting with the company, connecting with the recruiter, because that is what's really, really going to tell the recruiter why you are connected with them ultimately, and going to get yourself through the front door. You want to make sure that you're telling them why you are specifically interested in them, and you want to showcase your commitment and enthusiasm in this paragraph. You want to describe specific qualities and initiatives and what can you do for them. So let's get into the paragraph. I'm going to read it quickly, and then you guys can take a moment to look at it as well. New York Magazine consistently produces some of the most advanced marketing campaigns in the publishing world. This person gave one of the best compliments to New York Magazine, and I think it's phenomenal. It literally should put a smile on the recruiter's face reading that, because it's fact, right? Its tremendous online success and use of social media is particularly inspiring, as demonstrated through popular blogs. This person did their research. This is important because it tells the recruiter, I know about you guys. I know who you are. I know what you have done within the industry, and you guys are the best, and I want to work for you. It's telling the recruiter, I have these skills, I possess, I can do the job, I can function accordingly, and I want to work for the organization that is at the top. That is ultimately what this person is saying. So, and then, this person closes out and says, it would be an honor to contribute to the marketing efforts of such an innovative publication. The language that was used in this last paragraph is absolutely phenomenal. So like, I said before, you want to hype them up. You want to tell them, I want to work for you guys because you are the best. Ultimately, that is the point. Every organization, like I said, functions differently and operates differently, but they do fall under the same industry. You have to tell the recruiter what is it about them that makes them stand out. Additional advice about cover letters. If a cover letter is optional, quality is key. Not every employer requires you to submit a cover letter. However, you go on the job description or the internship description, the application page. Oftentimes it's very clear to you whether or not a cover letter is required. So look out for that. And when you're submitting your application, if there's an option for you to include a cover letter, I strongly recommend that you do. And it's something that you really want to take advantage of because it will help you stand out. Opportunities that require cover letters tend to have less competition. I'm going to say that again. Opportunities that require cover letters tend to have less competition. Your cover letter is, like I said, I went into detail about this. It's who you are. It gives you a greater chance to give a better explanation of what you bring to the table and why you want to work for the company. So keep that in mind. Most of your cover letter can be field specific, and can save you time, but the core should be job and company specific. Always have your cover letters reviewed by the Career Center or Writing Center. Now, before I let you go, I want to talk about this a little bit more for a few minutes of your time. Cover letters sometimes, are you have the full right to be creative and go the route that we just went in terms of following the template, right? But there are situations where employers tell you exactly what they want you to include in the cover letter. So in the event that you have instructions, you're going to go that route because you need to include specific information that they are requesting. Now, what you can do is use the template and incorporate what they're asking for, but oftentimes they may not require a cover letter. They may ask you to answer a few questions. They may ask you to write 2 paragraphs about a specific topic. It really varies, so keep that in mind. Are there any questions? Please include it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer any of the questions that are listed before we close out our session. I'll give it a few minutes. Okay, I don't see any questions popping up. I want you all to make sure you follow Fordham Careers for more information about our upcoming events. And please consider us setting up an appointment with one of our career counselors. We're here to help you. We're here to help you with all of your career needs and give you guidance. We're here to prepare you for interviews as well as networking events. We're going to be your best friends. So we want you to take advantage of those resources at hand. So please, if you have any questions, please use the last few minutes to include them in the chat. I'll still give it a few minutes, but if not, you all have a wonderful day, and it was a pleasure speaking to you all today.